Hello everybody, Shane at Read the Wonder. Today's video is going to be about the very basics on getting started with tarot, like the very, very basic. You probably should know this stuff, or it will be helpful to know this stuff before you really start reading tarot or getting into it. I know a lot of you are already very familiar with the tarot. You've been subscribed for a long time. This series is going to be for the absolute newcomer. So here we go. What I am first going to do is do a quick reading on myself. And I think this may be the first time I've ever really done this on a live, but I feel like it will give anybody new to the tarot, anybody popping on that may know nothing about the tarot, just a general idea of one way in which the tarot can be used and how I use it most often for myself. That's it. So this last week has been crazy for me in a few different ways, but mostly like it's been mentally taxing. It's been emotional. I feel like I've kind of been everywhere in my mind. Like, my energy has been very, like, chaotic, unfortunately. And it's been really hard to kind of tune in with myself. And so what I'm going to do is a quick reading on what energy I have been using and what energy I need to focus more on to bring about some healing or some differences or some mental stability. And this is what's great about the tarot. You can use the tarot for so many different questions in your life. And I really like to use the tarot for more introspective questions. Questions that are not necessarily or often predicting the future, but answering questions, getting information that is going to help me live the best life that I can, how it's to help me to move forward in the best way that I'm able to. I believe that the tarot can really do that. I have had experiences with it fairly well predicting the future, but I remain skeptical, and that's crazy if I could tell you the stories, because I do. I tell my friends, they're like, how can you even question if the tarot can tell you certain things about the future? But I still do, because that's who I am, you know. That's how my brain works. As much as I love the tarot, I'm still like, coincidence? Because I don't know why. But I think that it can be very introspective. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to shuffle these just a bit. And I'm going to do what we call a 3-card spread. And those are very, very common. Mostly, I think, for the reason that a lot of people will use it as past, present, and future. But beyond that, it can be used for so many different questions. You can formulate your own if you want to, or you can get online, and anywhere you go, there's going to be 3-card spreads. And different questions that you can ask, you know, if you want to do a 3-card. So I am going to draw the center card, because I usually like to use a focal card, a focal point, and that's going to be the middle card. So I'm going to pull that. Okay. And then I am going to pull a card to the left of it, and that is going to be the energy that I have been using on that I have been focused on, that I've been exhibiting in the last week. And then the card to the right is going to be energy I need to really move into or focus more on to bring about some positivity and some, you know, some clarity. So, what's been going on? What kind of energy is this? This is the moon. And this is crazy right now because this week has been a lot about the moon. I have thought about a name change to my channel, not doing it as of now. I didn't think I was recording for a minute. I was about to get like, oh, jeez. Like, you know, because it happens and you're like, oh, that just meant 30 minutes doing nothing. But talking to myself. Anyway, moon. I've talked a lot about the moon. Channel, name, I've been thinking about, and I'm not sure that's going to happen yet. We'll wait. It has come up in a couple readings, even with friends. So the moon has been very prominent in my life this week. And the moon really has to do with the unconscious to me. So really a lot about what's going on underneath the surface. What is, it's affirming to me that there's something going on. There's something that's not super visible. I'm not clearly seeing that is causing this more chaotic mental energy this last week. Cards can also be very literal. And while I'm not a believer or disbeliever in how the moon affects our energy, meaning I think that it could very well be true, and I'm not so sure. It could be literal, saying that the moon is really having an effect. So I could look at this last week and where the moon has been, which phase it's been in, and maybe, how that in the future might affect me, and being more prepared for that kind of energy from the moon. So this really just signifies to me that there is something going on that probably does need to be solved. The moon energy is my favorite energy. I love the moon energy. So it's telling me, I'm using that energy, and I love using that energy, but I'm not using it to the best of my ability. And I'm very well aware of that. Thank you, Tarot. So energy that I have been exhibiting, we have the Ace of Wands. And without going into too much detail in this card, to me that's telling me right now that the Wands are very, very fiery energy. They're very go-getter. They can be very chaotic. They're very impulsive. They're very ambitious. They're kind of a go, get it done energy. And the Ace of Wands, the aces really signify the entirety of that suit, the entirety of the wand. So to me, that has been a lot of fire energy this week, and they're not wrong. That's where my brain has been. It's just been on a nonstop rolling, and acting almost impulsively in my speech with people. And I don't always like it. Sometimes it's a good thing. I'm a pretty blunt person. Other times it doesn't serve me super well. So that's telling me maybe I've had an overabundance of this kind of energy. It has kind of spilled out of me. This kind of energy is not a bad thing, but there's been too much of it for me to handle this last week. And I've been acting too quickly, too passionately. And it has been a problem, and that's kind of why I am where I am. I can be stubborn in some of my belief systems, and I've been vocal about that this past week, and it's caused anxiety within myself about how I have vocalized those. And so this is showing me maybe slow down. That energy is too much right now. And then energy I really need to try to be harnessing or moving into, I have the Ten of Cups. And the 10 is the Ten of Cups. It's hard to read. I'm trying to read so that, so I can get in contact with the newcomer as well. So it's hard for me to be reading and wanting to give you the exact definition of the card or using it in context with the reading. So the Ten of Cups is really emotional abundance. It is being at a place of emotional, mental stability, feeling spiritually fulfilled, feeling kind of at one with your surroundings, with your loved ones, with your friends, feeling very content, very centered. And so the energy I should be harnessing and focusing on is I really maybe need to be more spiritually centered is what it's saying to me, more emotionally calm, trust in my instincts a little bit more, because even my instincts this past week have been telling me, you need to slow down, Shane. So this is really just signifying to me that I really need to be more emotionally aware is what I am feeling from this card right now. I have had some issues, and I'm not going to go, not issues, but a lot of this energy has been with family members, and we haven't been fighting or anything, but it's been a little bit of a, we're learning about each other. We are learning things about how we communicate. And everybody is very receptive to opening themselves up about these ideas and talking about them, right? But there has been some miscommunication. So the Ten of Cups 2 means to me, it's a family card as well. We see the little family here, and it's, stability within the home and, a happy. So it's kind of telling me too that I need to be more focused on how to best connect with these family members. Maybe I need to be looking a little bit more at how their emotions are working. I haven't been good at this week. I've been kind of overlooking their point of view for my own. And this is telling me that we kind of all need to work together. There needs to be harmony, communication. There needs to be a single goal and purpose. And that is not where we are right now. So for me, this is very personal, and it is a very good, it's something I really do need to focus on this week, without going into too much more detail about what's really going on. I don't want to do that right now. So that is how I often read my cards. So if you're going to start watching my videos to learn the tarot, you can expect probably to learn kind of how to do what I just did. To use the tarot cards more for introspective, spiritual, guidance, meditative, those kind of ways. My videos will also help you learn how to use them for predicting, for forecasting, reading for others. Of course, reading for others. I do that as well. But my focus is more so on healing, rather than just doing it for the fun of it to see what's going to happen next week. So fair warning there. That's it. This video is it's already getting a lot longer than I wanted, but I'm still gonna go through with it. We are gonna talk about really quick the very, very basics of, according to what I have learned, how I've learned, how to get started with reading the tarot, and maybe things I wish I had known before beginning to read the tarot. I did it the way I needed to, and it worked very well for me. So I'm hoping that it can work well for others, and it can help others. So first, some of these are going to seem really, really like, of course, but you'd be surprised at how many people kind of overlook the small stuff or don't really think about it. So bear with me. The first thing you want to do is to buy a deck. We know, you kind of need a deck if you're going to read the tarot. But more than that, I do suggest the Rider-Waite deck, which is what I just read with. I'm not saying you have to do this. This is my suggestion. It is what I did and what worked well for me. And there are some reasons for this. One, it is an iconic deck. It's not one of the oldest tarot decks, but it is the most popular, I'll say, and the one that most people will recognize the artwork from. And I recommend this deck because there is so much literature, and everywhere you look is kind of centered a lot around these cards. If you pick up literature, if you talk to other tarot members, it's kind of where everybody meets, is the Rider-Waite Smith, and the images found in the artwork. You're just going to find a lot of it everywhere, so it's easiest to have this deck. And after learning with this deck, I've used everything that I've learned with this deck and in this artwork in other cards. If you don't resonate with the artwork at all, there are many other decks that are what we'll call Rider-Waite inspired, meaning it's not exactly the same artwork or style of artwork, but it has kind of the same messages behind each card, and sometimes will be very, very close even in imagery to this, but have a completely different feel. So if you're not resonating with this deck, I still suggest getting something that is Rider-Waite inspired. If you're really wanting to know, you can comment and ask me. You can talk to other tarot members in the community. I'm more than happy to suggest a few decks based on maybe what you're liking. If you want to tell me, I'm not resonating with that, but I like these kind of decks, what would you suggest? I may be able to suggest something or know somebody who could. So get a deck. If you cannot afford a deck, you can get, one of these off Amazon for around $15. If you cannot afford a deck, there are apps that will have, it's almost like having a deck on your card. They'll give you the meaning, and they have all 78 cards of a deck. So if you cannot afford or can't get one right away, download an app that will have that. They even will offer free daily readings and spreads. So it's not as good as having a deck by any means, but it will work until you can afford or get one. That's it on decks, I think. I need a drink. Second, in my opinion, and most important, I think, in my opinion, if you are really wanting to seriously get into reading for yourself or anybody else, is to learn the cards. Goes without saying, study. And I don't just mean, I mean study. I mean, when I say study, I mean like go back to high school, go back to college, and study like you did then. The very basic that you want to learn is the meaning of the cards. It sounds intense because it's 78 cards, and that can feel overwhelming when you first, how am I supposed to remember the meanings of 78 cards? It sounds like a really tall feat. Excuse me. It's not as hard as you think. And I could tell you why, but that would take up too much time. I'll just say it's not as hard as you think. Even once you get a few cards down, they all go together in certain ways. So you'll get the hang of it quicker than you think. What I did for myself is I got sick of looking it up in the book. And people will spend years doing that. I've seen, before I really knew about the tarot, in fact, one of my friends long time ago at a game night pulled out a deck and said, "You want me to read for you?" And I said, yes. At the time, I didn't know anything about tarot, but she did a spread, laid out some cards, and then she got her Idiot's Guide to Tarot out and started reading basically the meanings off each card. And I think I got maybe a little bit of something out of it. It was somewhat helpful and it was fun, but it was not very personal because she didn't really, it wasn't intuitive. There was no intuition there. It was straight guidebook tarot. There wasn't any putting the cards together in any kind of way or meaning. And that's how she did it, and that's fine if that's how she did it and wants to do it. But I see a lot of people do that, and you really miss out on a lot of benefits of the tarot doing it that way. I learned the cards in a week. Not learned them, but I learned the basic meanings of the cards and was able to read mostly without a book in a week when I finally got serious and I finally got sick of looking up the meanings in a book every time I do a reading. I said, that's it, Shane, you really need to learn the cards, and I did. Try to give yourself that week. Try to really make yourself study. I went through them on a daily, very routine basis. I would write all the meanings down, on a piece of paper, all 78 cards, and then I would write them down again and test myself. And I would write down, every card, what I thought it meant. And if I absolutely couldn't remember a card, I would look, or I would guess. And so in that way, it was just like school. I was testing myself, seeing where I needed to study more, seeing what I was missing. And it really worked well for me that way, is just come up with 2 or 3 keywords is what I say. 1, if that's all you can manage, 1, get the very general meaning of the card. You don't have to study the card. You don't have to get a huge book of tarot and read about it in its entirety. Use the little white book. We'll get to that, but come up with just 1, 2, 3 meanings, general meanings for that card, and learn them so that when you draw them, it will give you so much more confidence in your readings for yourself, and especially when you start reading for others. You can read for others using a book, especially starting. You're going to forget. Start reading for friends, family, you're going to forget, especially being put on the spot. You're going to do a reading, you're going to forget one of the cards. Don't feel silly having to pull out a book. be honest. Say, this is really just slipping my mind. I know it has purpose and meaning here. I need to look in this book just as a refresher, and then I can give you my intuitive feeling about the card. It's going to happen. Don't feel upset when it does, but you're going to feel a lot more confident if you go in at least knowing you're going to know some of the cards and be able to piece them together. So memorize. You can use apps for that too, so you don't always have to be carrying around a deck. You can be out and about, you can be waiting, for an appointment, you can be wherever you are and open up an app on your phone or go to websites, and look up the meanings for each card. That was really helpful as well because, again, I could be anywhere and I could be going through for 5 minutes and just doing a refresher. And the very last thing is, and this comes with time, is using intuition. That is something that for me did not happen right away, but I know for others it does. Some people get by without really learning the cards at all. They go off of intuition entirely based on the artwork of the card. That works for a lot of people. It doesn't work super well for me. I can be very intuitive, but oftentimes I'm not as intuitive as I'd like to be. And I do need to know what this card means without having to look at the artwork. There goes my keyboard. Don't need it. So use your intuition when looking at cards, especially if you're testing yourself or going through them. It could be it could be a memory jogger. What does this card look like it means? Well, it looks like some guy is giving money to the poor. And that is what this card is about. It is about charity. It is about giving back. So that can help jog your memory as to what the card's meaning is. And in a reading, you could see something entirely different that the card doesn't mean. You could say, well, this is what I'm seeing this time. It's not really the meaning that this card is, but that's what I'm seeing and I'm feeling. So you can also learn cards based off of just intuition and what you feel that card means. There is no way to read the tarot wrong, per se. So study the cards, learn them. It's going to give you a one-up in everything that you do. Literature, really quick, is not super important. Whatever deck you're going to buy, you're going to get a little white book that is going to tell you the basic meanings of the cards, and that's where you should focus. Books get beneficial after you've learned the very basics. Or, if you have the extra cash to spend, do it. Buy a book. There are some really great books out there. And some people really, like me, I really just love the feeling of a book and learning that way. Afford it, or you've already spent money on the tarot and are like, I don't know how much I really want to spend on this. You don't have to. You do not have to spend a dime to be able to learn how to read the tarot. You can go online to free websites that will give meanings of the card that you can write down in a journal. Keep a journal, about your meanings. Write them down from online. The apps will tell you, the little white book that comes with the tarot. So there are a million free ways to learn how to read that tarot that you've bought. And then when you've gotten it under your belt and you really feel like you want to go more in depth, there are so many great books that will give you a deeper understanding of the cards. Don't worry about that right now. You don't need to buy a how-to book if you don't want to, if you don't have the money for it. If you're not sure you want to get that involved, you don't need to. It's fine. Don't pay to learn, especially if you take my suggestions and you're going online and looking at websites that are giving you free meanings and some spreads that you can use. You will see on some websites that they have tarot courses and that they will give you a degree or a diploma or a certificate if you've completed their course. By all means, if you have the cash to burn and you learn better in that kind of environment, a student teacher, it keeps you on track. If you learn better in that environment, go for it. But the diploma, certificate, whatever they're going to give you is not going to help you at all as a tarot reader. I really don't see it being beneficial in any way, except as a badge of completion that maybe you can put on your wall and be proud of for having completed a whole tarot course. So that could be cool, and if that's what you're shooting for and that's what you're liking, go for it. But I remember when I started thinking, maybe this could help me in readings in the future. Maybe I won't learn well by myself. Maybe I do need this. I never needed it. And I'm glad I didn't spend $200, $300, $500 on some random tarot course that promises me something that is not really in the long term going to be beneficial. All the material, they have, I'm sure, unique material that they've come up with by themselves, worksheets, and again, that could be really good for you if you learn that way. But any information they're going to give you about the tarot is stuff you can learn for free online. Don't pay for what you can learn for free, you know, especially if you can't afford it. Watch YouTube videos. That is really a lot of how I learned. I watched walkthroughs of decks, walkthroughs of the major arcana and the card meanings and what it means to different people. It helped me feel more connected to the community, so I started talking to people about the tarot. I didn't feel so alone. I felt like there are other people out there that enjoy these interests, and I can talk to them about, this is what this card is telling me. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts on this card? And that's a great feeling. It really is, to meet people, like-minded people, and get involved in a community like that. Facebook groups, that can be helpful because they can provide a platform for reading for other people. A lot of Facebook groups, you can just post, I want to pick a card for 10 different people. And then, people comment and you can pull the card and practice your reading that way. You can do exchange readings where you say, basically I'll read for you if you'll read for me. And a lot of people are into that, and it's how they learn. It's how they grow as a tarot reader. So Facebook groups can be great. Just watch out in Facebook groups. There are some that I'm not so fond of because they allow people to post their spreads. They'll have 10 cards laid out, and the person will post a picture and say, what does this mean? That's lazy. That is so lazy. Like, they're not really there to learn or to connect. They're there to get a free tarot reading in a very slippery way, in my opinion. Now, if they're posting it and they're like, this is what this meant to me, I think this card is meaning this, and they're giving you a general description of like, this is how I feel about it. What do you guys think? That is them trying to learn. That is them saying, this is what I feel. If you got this reading, maybe you see something I don't. And that is a really great thing. That is, we need to be open to others' ideas about the cards because it helps us learn the cards, and it helps us helps us learn different viewpoints of that card that we're not going to see because we are not every person. There's so many different kinds of people that are going to see the cards in so many different ways that it is so helpful to talk to them to get those different viewpoints. Okay, that's enough of that. Is there anything I've really missed? This isn't a live, so you can't answer my questions. Anything else? When I first started learning the tarot that I wish I had known. That's it. Use your intuition on everything. Don't follow everything I've said because what works for me is not going to work for everybody else. Take what you can and leave out the rest. Watch numerous videos on how to learn the tarot. Get different ideas. Just like I said, like with learning the cards, get different ideas. People have different ideas on how to learn and how to grow, reading the tarot. Use anything from anyone that you can. And if you don't like what they're saying, then don't write that down. Don't follow that suggestion. That's fine. So I encourage you to really have a look around and use what works for you. I think that's it. Why I started reading the tarot is something that I already said at the beginning of this video. For more introspection. I wanted more answers. I don't know. I think there is something divine out there. I don't personally know what that is. I have no real grasp on what that is. I just think it's there. And I think that it can guide me if I allow it to. And this is a tool for me that I can use to line myself up with that higher power's purpose, to get some answers from the all-knowing. And it has worked. It has worked when I choose to use it in the right way. It works great in my life. It is therapy in and of itself. And And there are some warnings it's given me that I wish I had listened to, that I didn't, and you will learn that over time. I'm excited for you if you're excited. Like, tarot is very, very exciting. So if you're thinking about it, take the plunge. I wavered for so long before I finally took that plunge, and I wish I had sooner. So do it. Dive in, learn the cards, and just keep going. Once you've learned the cards, it's like a nonstop. You're going. You're constantly learning more and feeling great about it. And it's an amazing experience, and it's something that will never leave you for the rest of your life. It's kind of like riding a bike. You're never going to forget the meanings of these cards. You're going to be able to pick up a deck 20 years from now and still know generally what's going on. And it's just something you can use for the rest of your life. That's it. Any questions at all, any at all, feel free to comment. And I try to get back to absolutely everybody. So if you have any questions on anything that I've talked about or anything that I haven't talked about today, go for it. This was just the first video. You can expect the next one to be more in depth. What are the cards? What kind of cards? What is in the deck? What do these mean? What's going on? What do the symbols mean? That'll be my next video, is basically like the overview of the deck, what's in it, and more clearly how to use it. So I'll try to get that video up in the next few days. Good luck, everybody. It's going to be a fun time. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.